This is Valley News Live at 10.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Justin Betty. We'll get to your flood alert coverage in a moment, but first, this was the scene early this morning in Nelson County, North Dakota. Picture sent in by a viewer. Many people waking up to some snow on the ground, and we have a first alert weather day for tomorrow, as many of us will see potentially even more snow. First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson has the details. Hutch.
Indeed, Justin, thanks so much, and good evening, everyone. I hope your Wednesday was good. A fairly quiet day, morning thunderstorms and rain to the region. We had snow elsewhere in the western Dakotas, and first alert weather days for Thursday and Friday. Let's get right to the details. There's an update to your snowfall forecast. We want to get this right out to you, and it's basically the same. There's still some uncertainties, particularly into the second day. But here's what we're noticing with some of the models that are still coming in the computer right over there as we speak. And that's the fact that we're going to see the potential for a couple of areas of enhanced snowfall, one around the Botno Hills, northeast North Dakota and northwest Minnesota seeing an enhanced area, and more prolonged snow in these areas. Notice how far south it dips here into Lakes Country. Here's Becker County in the purple. If you're in the purple areas here, there's a very good chance at 5 inches of snow, wet, heavy, nasty snow. Some of us could see 8 inches. Do you see the pluses? This is another ad, because there are these purple areas here that change into pink. There's going to be some spots that could see over 8 inches of snow with this. What about Grand Forks? You're in the purple, 5, a solid bet there. For Fargo, we're going to be in this 2 to 5 with a better chance somewhere in the middle there. Around that 3 to 4 inches or so into Otter Tail County, rapidly decreasing amounts farther to the south. That's what you need to know, and that's by Friday. Here's what it looks like as we go through your day on Thursday. Periods of moderate to heavy snow swirling in the northern half of our viewing area, and then it wraps around and whacks all of us as we go through the night and into Friday, when the wind really picks up as well. Travel will be compromised in many areas that get the snow and the wind, and we'll keep you posted to the latest on that. And oh, by the way, you melt down the snow, Justin, and you find out how much moisture's in this. Many areas in the greens, an inch or more of liquid equivalent moisture will have impacts on that. By the way, today, the snow in western North Dakota, whoo, wet, heavy, winter-like in spring. More details here in a moment.
All right, thanks, Hutch. Spring flooding has law enforcement urging drivers not to put all your trust in GPS apps so you don't end up surrounded by or in floodwaters. If you're taking a trip, they say you should stay on major highways and do your research. Check out DOT and county road maps for any new closures that may pop up before you start your journey.
GPS is, it's not a fail-safe, right? There are going to be mistakes made by GPS. We see that in the winter. We're going to see that in the summer months as well. Obviously they're trying to route you the fastest way to get to someplace, and they might not always take into consideration all the information that's being shared by local law enforcement or highway departments.
And if you've come across a water-covered road in recent weeks, you may have thought about driving over it. But in tonight's Valley Flood Alert coverage, Reed Gregory talked to local auto shop owners about why that could be an expensive mistake.
It's best not to go through the water. I know a lot of people think it's cool just to barrel through the water, but it can cost a lot of money.
In the wake of heavy flooding in the local area, mechanics are warning drivers to be on the lookout for potential problems with their vehicles. Local garages and auto shops have reported an increase of vehicles coming in with not only costly water damage, but other issues related to recent flooding.
There was like a newer Silverado. He was going into like 4 feet of water, and he fried his rack and pinion, and it was like $3,000 by the time he got all done with that.
According to auto professionals, floodwater can wreak havoc on a vehicle's electrical system, causing damage to sensitive components such as the engine control module, sensors, and wiring. In addition, they can also damage the transmission, the brakes, and other mechanical systems.
When they go through the water, it sucks that water in the intake, and it puts it right into the pistons, and when the pistons hit water, it bends everything internal.
In light of these potential problems, local mechanics are urging drivers to take it slow and protect their vehicles. They advise that drivers try to avoid driving through any standing water if at all possible, as even a small amount of water can cause serious damage and costly repairs.
Even if you have to go through insurance because you went through the water, it's still going to cost you that deductible that could be expensive. Best thing to do is just back up, go around, and take another route.
In Fargo, Reed Gregory, Valley News Live.
You can get the latest Valley Flood Alert coverage by downloading the VNL News app. You can download and use that for free by searching VNL News in the App Store tonight. New tonight, a Devil's Lake man has been sentenced for stealing a car at gunpoint outside a Minnesota grocery store. 27-year-old Joshua Sinoa will serve more than 10 years for carjacking and brandishing a firearm. Court documents say in July, Sinoa approached a bakery delivery truck in the parking lot of a Cub Foods in Blaine, Minnesota. They say he pointed a gun at the driver, told him to get out, and then took off with the truck. The Icon Sports Center in Grand Forks was without power today after a car crashed into a nearby electrical transformer. Crews say around 3:40 this afternoon, a car crashed into that transformer. It caught fire. In order to put out the flames, they had to shut off the electricity. We're told no one was hurt. There was no real damage to the sports center either. Funeral arrangements have been made for a Pope County deputy killed in the line of duty. Joshua Owen and 2 other law enforcement officers were shot while responding to a domestic call on Saturday. Owen's partner and a Starbuck police officer survived. The suspect was killed. Deputy Owen's funeral will take place at 10:30 Saturday morning at Minnewaska Area High School with visitation Friday evening. The Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association has set up a memorial fund to help with costs. Governor Walz has ordered flags fly at half staff until Saturday in Owen's honor. Also new tonight, approval voting can continue to be used in Fargo as it has since 2020. A bill that would have outlawed that method failed to override Governor Doug Burgum's veto today. The bill needed 32 votes in the state Senate to reach the 2/3 majority needed. Now in March, 33 senators voted for the bill. Today, 6 Republican members changed their vote, so it came up short. In his veto, the governor said the bill infringes on local control. Fargo again has been using this method for city elections since 2020 after the people approved the measure in 2018. A near total abortion ban is heading to North Dakota Governor Burgum's desk in the near future. It comes after a month after the state Supreme Court declared a trigger ban that was set to go into effect unconstitutional. The Senate bill would ban all abortions after 6 weeks, with exceptions for rape, incest, or the mother's life. It passed the Senate 42-5 and the House 76-14, both those definite veto-proof majorities. Meanwhile, in Washington today, the U.S. Supreme Court delayed their decision on the widely used abortion pill. Justices announced they will give themselves 2 more days till Friday to decide whether there should be any restrictions on the drug. The High Court's decision on the fate of the pill follows a Texas federal judge's decision to suspend the drug's FDA approval, saying it had been rushed, even though it's been on the market for about 20 years now. Tonight, every single member of the Minnesota government gathered in the state capitol building in St. Paul for the annual State of the State address. Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham was there this evening as the governor delivered his remarks.
It was a jam-packed evening in St. Paul tonight as the governor touted all of the legislative accomplishments of himself and his party this year. As with any political speech, though, the response from both sides was quite divided. As Governor Tim Walz entered the House chambers Wednesday night for his State of the State address, he was met with thunderous applause. As Walz began his remarks, it was clear that one side of the aisle gave their unanimous support to certain issues, while the other was silent.
The forces of hatred and bigotry are on the march in states across this country and around the world. But let me say this now and be very clear about this. That march stops at Minnesota's borders.
A legislature that Wednesday night appeared as divided as ever.
The State of the State address, which was one of the most unique ones that I've seen. It was like being at a Democrat pep rally.
GOP leaders gathered in the Capitol basement immediately after the governor's remarks, calling out Walz for an apparent lack of bipartisanship.
What we saw was a national campaign speech out there, ignoring the needs of Minnesotans across the state.
But what the Republicans saw as divisive, the DFL saw as determined.
What this governor said tonight in his speech and what he has shown in his actions is when you come to Minnesota for the good life, it will be here.
Walz was adamant his course of action is the right path, he believes, for the North Star State.
We have the shared vision, and for the first time in half a century, we have the political will to get this done.
I think this speech is a perfect example of where Minnesota's political climate stands right now. On one side, you have a vocal, loud, and proud DFL passing legislation and excited to be passing that legislation after years of gridlock. On the other, you have a disappointed GOP, quite frankly, fighting to make their voices heard. Reporting tonight from St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
And the Minnesota legislature remains in session until May 22nd. Minnesota, by the way, is getting a new area code for the first time in more than 20 years. The State Public Utilities Commission says the 507 area code, which covers roughly the southern third of the state, that'll run out of numbers in about 2 years. So a new 924 area code is expected to launch right away. There will be a total of 8 area codes in the state with this move. A well-known longtime bar and restaurant in Dilworth is now up for sale. You could own the original Hi-Ho for $325,000. It's built in 1947. Hi-Ho is located right along the north side of Highway 10. The building is about 4,500 square feet. It includes the equipment, fixtures, furniture, and a 2-bedroom apartment. The owners of Hi-Ho also operate a second location on 25th Street South in Fargo, which they plan to continue operating. The Grand Forks YMCA is putting on a silent auction to support kids and families in the area. That online auction opened today. Bidding will close next Wednesday night. You can see the items online or in person at the downtown Grand Forks location. Some packages include food and dining, pet supplies, golf, hotel stays, and more. You can check out that full list again on this story on the website. It includes a link to bid. Our website, valleynewslive.com. You can also find it on the VNL News app. Still ahead on Valley News Live at 10, we'll talk about how AI is being used in education and if that's a good idea.
And fire pit season has been put back on hold, Paul. There's snow from the Hoople area. Thanks for your photos. River levels showing that at Abercrombie we're in the major flood stage, but that trend is flattening out a bit. That is a good sign. Hey, we have some cold weather on the way as our rivers are rising. We'll have hour-by-hour details on when and where the snow hits and the impacts on rivers right after this.